to There's a Workshop for That. This is part 2 of a special double feature with Mohsin Memon, game designer and learning expert. If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, where we explore the neuroscience-based alpha model, I highly recommend checking it out first. It really sets the stage for what we are diving into now. In this second episode, we are shifting into something more practical. Evivve, a multiplayer leadership game that uncovers authentic behaviors and helps participants quickly realize what they need to shift, both individually and collectively, to unlock deeper collaboration and more conscious leadership. I'll be honest, I wasn't into gamification at first, but everything changed when I experienced Evivve during the 2-day certification in London. It was for me a revelation, not just an exciting new tool for my facilitation toolkit, but the beginning of a new collaboration, which you'll hear more about in this conversation. With over 13 years of experience designing transformational learning experiences and more than 20,000 Evivve sessions delivered around the world, Mohsin and his team is truly leading the way in game-based learning. And Evivve, it's far more than just a game. It's an award-winning learning simulation that brings real behavior to the surface and helps individuals, teams, and leaders unlock meaningful, lasting performance. So if you're curious about how this tool can elevate your trainings, workshops, and coaching sessions, stick around. This one's packed with insight. Hi, Mohsin. How are you doing?
Hi, Natty. I'm doing great. Great to be back.
So we talked in the last episode about offer, and you mentioned several times Evivve, but you didn't really explain what is Evivve. So I will not ask you again your background. If listeners want to listen to it, they can go back to the other episode, but I would like to learn from you where Evivve is coming from. When did you create this and what it is?
You know the saying that necessity gives birth to innovation and change. And that's really where it started for us. I was a leadership consultant and we were working with Motorola's learning and development team and their leadership team in upgrading a bulk of their leadership programs. So we were re-looking at a lot of the things that they were doing to drive transformational change, to bring culture shifts in the organization. And the thing that we always ended up facing a real challenge with was shifts in behaviors of team members that are set in their ways. And, and this is the challenge that we saw very early on. And this was an insight from maybe even 7 or 8 years ago, that there are two types of challenges that we face when it comes to development and why we organize workshops, because I used to run these workshops as well. And one would be a skill issue and the other would be a will issue. If it's a skill issue, then, you put in a training program and you upskill them, you give them the necessary agency that they need and the know-how, and you're able to solve that for most of the cases. But the real challenge starts to emerge when it's a will issue, where somebody knows that they need to collaborate and yet they don't. And that's where our internal processes need to be evaluated. So the best way of doing something like that was to help these people come in touch with the consequence of their choices. We were operating from a fundamental belief system, and that belief system was that if people came in touch with the consequences of their choices, they will make better choices, bar none. Like that's the ground level understanding that we were operating from. And we said, if that's the truth, if it really is the truth that people, when they come in touch with the consequences of their choices, will make better choices, well, then it's on us to create an environment where they can freely make those choices so we can help them see the impact of that. And that's really where Evivve came from. Like if I were to break it down into where it came from, that's the story of it. But we were working with Motorola at the time, and we had a real challenge of working through silos within the team. And so we built a very basic game system. We deployed it in February of 2016, and it was a hit. The participants were leaders, part of the project management team. Millions of dollars worth of workflow was flowing through them. They were the project managers of the design centers, 5 of them that Motorola had at the time across the globe, and they had gathered together in Singapore in order to look at the next year's strategy. And a big part of that for them was eliminating silos and working more cohesively and seeing eye to eye and comparing notes with each other before making significant organizational decisions. And that's what we were able to surface within the Evivve game, the power of collaboration and why you could work together and how you could, what that looks like in this context with that.
And can you tell me what happened in this game? So what do they need to do so that they are so focused on it that they forget their behavior that they have in the organization, but they show up like, yeah, the person they are. So it happens something there.
Yeah, you're spot on, because you're picking up on exactly what brought those realizations to the fore, and our effort in the design was, can we suspend reality? And what we started off with was, we were like, can we tell a story that, and I have a background in film, so I want to tell a story and I want to help create this dramatic narrative, around this whole sci-fi. And I'm a sci-fi buff as well. So I leveraged a lot of those, Star Wars, Star Trek, and all that good stuff, and just packaged it together and built like this story that people could relate to, because, we love Avengers and we love all of these movies that we go and watch. And one of the things that I've heard a lot of the participants say when they play the game, at some point they have this realization along the way where they're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in a movie,
Exactly.
because you're conducting this genome alteration experiment. And one of the things I realized about great storytelling is that it immerses you. It sets the context. It's this whole universe. You watch Star Wars and you're lost in that whole planetary movement, and you won't for a moment question that you can travel from, at the speed of light from one planet to the other. But now suddenly, the characters in Tatooine, the next thing you know, they're on a different planet. But that's the nature of that world. That's the nature of that storytelling. And so we would tell a story like that, one that would be really deeply immersive. And then we would provide the agency. We would give people control so that they could be a part of that story. And nothing immerses like that, And when we talk about immersive technology, I think immersive technology goes beyond VR headsets and AR headsets. It's about how you experience your reality. That is true immersion. And so we, in one word, we were immersing people, and we were getting them to not know the difference between a right answer and a wrong answer. Because especially when you are in an environment where you're with your peers and everybody is with you, we have to really delineate the connection between right and wrong in their decision making. So we used a sea of gray, where people don't necessarily know the choices that they're making are inherently right or wrong. And that surfaced a lot of the natural behaviors because they didn't know. And as facilitators, it was a gold mine. We were sitting back. I had a co-facilitator who is even to this day an Evivve facilitator, and she facilitates a number of programs across the region in Southeast Asia as well. And one of the things that we were doing as facilitators were just taking notes, after, pages and pages of notes as we were watching these people display these behaviors, which we could see parallels to in the work environment. We could see that they weren't talking, consulting with one another. We could see that they were operating from a personal goal versus a larger big picture goal that we really needed them to show up with. And this we saw was playing out in a lot of teams that have played Evivve. So the dysfunctionalities, however, whatever the nature of that is, started to surface. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in the game, of course, because I did the certification. So the game is actually like some games that I know in Germany. There is a game where you need to buy some land and produce something. So the context is you are coming in an environment and you need to to save the planet, so to say, by buying something very, very precious. And I have it here.
Millenniums.
More millenniums. And to do that, you have to buy some land, to harvest your land, to be then able to answer to offers that are appearing, and then earn money to finally being able to buy this. But there are a lot of things happening because the facilitator can customize everything, provoke some catastrophe, some drama where everything is frozen and suddenly they don't know what to do. And they really have to work together to be able at least to win the game, right?
Yeah, they have to cohesively work with each other. And the nature of the game, one of the things that really brings up this natural behavior is this offer system that comes up. So as you're playing the game, you've got these offers that come up on your screen and they prevent you from taking action. So you really can't do anything if you're not aligned with that offer. Right. And so now you're either waiting for somebody in the group to accept the offer or you will accept the offer. Now, the moment anybody accepts the offer, it goes away from all the other players' screens. And that inherently creates this almost like this competition of, oh, I want to take the offer first. Or if you were trying to read it and then it gets taken, it goes away from your screen as well. So in this process, there's so many dynamics that start to emerge because all of this is causing some kind of an internal activation. You know, it's causing you to feel a certain emotion. And one of the emotions that comes up is, I'm not fast enough, you know? So for those of us who take a lot of, pressure on ourselves, their mind goes towards, I'm not fast enough, right? And then there are the other side of the spectrum, which is people who have an affinity to look outward might say that this thing is broken or why isn't it working?
This is
I'm
not my
pressing
fault.
This is not my fault. Exactly. So it brings up this wide spectrum of behaviors and you'll see some in between as well. And that is a gold mine, for facilitators to watch and see it unfold.
Yes, and so it reveals all the behavior, and the beauty of this is that you have a dashboard where you can then discuss with the team what happened, so how they iterate with each other, where they took some decision, how much offer they could take, but how much they really could, tackle or address, because it's also an indicator. So there is a lot of things that are reported during the game and after the game. And the beauty of this is that most of the time you run this game a first time, then you go through the realization and the reflection that we talked about in the first episode with the alpha model. And then you run the game a second time. And what happened then?
So the first time when we ran the game, people lost. And that's the reality of what happens. About 98% of the time we've seen, roughly about 97.7%, we see that teams, when they play the game for the first time, they lose. And it's not about winning. The first time is really about surfacing what is present, what is there, what we call authentic behaviors. Now, what's really interesting to see is the shift from authentic to synthetic behaviors. We live our lives from what we call synthetic behaviors, which are known norms. There are certain ways of behaving in corporate environment. There are certain ways of behaving in social environments. There are certain way of behaving in romantic environments, right? So all of these things, they vary, and it causes you to know what is the norm. But when you don't know the norm, you operate from authentic. And that's why in the first round, we call that authentic behaviors. In the synthetic behaviors, which is the second round, we get to see the degree of their learning, meaning how much are they processing of what they've learned in the first round, and how much of that learning they're able to integrate and bring into their strategy in the second time that they play the game. And in doing that, we're also able to help course correct. We're able to help them come in touch with the shifts that they're making and help them see how easy it is to adopt new behaviors and practice them and bring them to life. Also, the biggest thing I think the second and the third future iterations does is that it gives you the opportunity to and the freedom to experiment with new behaviors and see the consequence, the impact of. One of the reasons why people don't experiment with new behaviors is that, or rather, let me say it the other way around. One of the reasons why people stick to old behaviors is that they are tried and tested and we feel safe with them. And because we feel safe with those old behaviors, we don't adopt new ones. But creating a safe space through the experimentation, like an Evive game, gives you the kind of freedom to then experiment, see the consequence, recognize, integrate that, yes, this new behavior is more productive and will yield better results than my old ones.
So you have run this game or this workshop, I don't know how to, this experience, this immersive experience with a lot of companies. And if I remember, there are companies or consultancy like PwC who have integrated this in their own academy, right?
Yeah, yeah, they have. So PwC gave us the opportunity to work with several organizations within the Middle East and MENA region, and it allows us to integrate Evive into existing leadership programs. So facilitators that are running leadership or development programs or workshops can very easily take Evive and plug and play because it pretty much sits in as a module, maybe a 2 hour or a 4 hour module inside of your program. And it significantly accelerates what you are trying to drive as an outcome from that initiative. You've got the opportunity to tackle a range of different competencies, capabilities, and development initiatives that span from communication to collaboration, problem solving, decision making, project management, even emotional intelligence emerges very strongly within the game ecosystem.
So actually, Evive is the best tool to activate your participants to understand why the program you are running with them, whether it's a training about communication skills, negotiation, or a workshop with a leadership board about a strategy that need to be set, making them going through this Evive experience first will activate their and forecasting the why we are doing the work after, right?
Absolutely. And I love that you picked up on that nuance because it's this appetite for learning, that is often missing in the learning process itself. So often we're trying to enable learning or we're trying to shift a certain behavior when we're working with leadership teams. And the activation builds the appetite for wanting to learn. And that's the other outcome that emerges after they play the first time because the game is hard enough. It makes you feel like you can win in the second time that you play the game, that it builds the appetite for you to want to know what was missing. And that what was missing is so essential for learning to take place, for any kind of shift in the human experience to take place.
And as a facilitator, what I can tell is that this is not only just a great tool to work with your participants, but this is also a great tool that requires so less preparation because everything is set in the system. Means if you have a team building or if you have a strategy workshop or a training, you have all the templates prepared so that the narrative of your session can be completely customized to your customer and to the topic you are doing. So this is one first thing. The second thing is it's completely customizable. It means, for example, if you are here to solve communication problems or conflicts in a team, you can easily, during the game, so live, enable someone, for example, to use his device so that you can see, okay, will the person step out or will the person start to help the person in the team to win? So you can really adapt what you are doing along the way. So it's really, for me, it was really a revelation and one of the top tools I will use in my future workshops. And there is something very exciting. We had a meeting yesterday with the Evive team, me and other people who were certified on the program, because you are right now analyzing 20,000 games with 50,000 participants. You have all the data in this in your software, and you are analyzing this to bring out a white paper. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I would love to. This is something that I'm so excited about, and it's something that we've been working on, analyzing close to 20,000, over 20,000 games that span across 50,000 players. And the goal of this is to see what good leadership looks like and what creates psychological safety, what enables people to shift their behaviors over the course of time as they're engaging in a project. And the best way of looking at Evivve is to think of it as a year-long project that's condensed into like a 35 or 40-minute experience, because all the stuff that would happen in a typical project happens in an Evivve game. So the new people coming in, the old people leaving, the ego issues, the challenges, the deadlines, the unrealistic expectations from your clients. We all know about that, right?
Yeah.
And all of that while being in a multiplayer environment, while navigating each other's priorities, expectations, and their personal and professional realizations along the way, right? Because those realizations are also shifting the way that they do what they're about to do next. And putting all of that together in kind of like this game, imagine the kind of data and the kind of behavioral insights that this generates. And so we're deeply excited about this research and this analysis that we're running. We started the analysis last year, and the AFR was one of the first insights that the 20,000 games gifted us. And now the journey continues. We're in the midst of the final stages of the analysis, where we're looking at what behavior is triggering, what kind of mechanic is triggering what kind of behavior, and what does that behavior indicate in the form of a persona. And then we're looking at how are these personas evolving and changing as the gameplay unfolds. One of the things you talked about earlier was the disaster, right? At various junctures along the way, there are different disasters that are happening, and they disrupt your gameplay. They disrupt your expectations. What you really wanted, now you can't have. And what we're seeing as one of the early signals from the data is that every time a disaster would happen, we would see more collaborative behavior during and after, immediately after the disaster as well. So more people taking collaborative actions within the game after disaster. And this points to not just Evivve, but it also points to AFR, because the realization stage of AFR, wherein a disaster period happens, you don't have any choice. You can't do anything. You just have to wait it out. And in that wait, there's some internal process that's happening that's allowing you to come in touch with the fact that it's better for us to collaborate. It's better for us to do something with each other to achieve the common goal, And that's an early insight, but we are so excited about the range of insights that we're going to generate from these 20,000 games and the behaviors of the players.
And the thing is, this is not just an internal documentation that you are doing. This is something that you will put out in the world, and where you invite also facilitators to collaborate.
Absolutely. We want to, one of the things that's made Evivve what it is for facilitators by facilitators. I made Evivve for myself. That's really very, very selfish reasons. Like, I did it for me because I wanted to go to my clients, give them real value, give them something different, something that's kind of out of the box. And then my friends who were facilitators started asking me for this tool. It was so broken. It was so, bugged out but they still loved it. They used it. And that's when we saw a future. We said, what if we turn this into a software that others can use? And the same mindset continues even today, Nati, which is that we want to invite facilitators who are doing meaningful work to contribute and be a part of the paper. If you've got great stories, then we want to feature you. And that's what it's about. It's about, the rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah. And the great things also for me is that we have a lot of facilitators struggles to explain the impact of their work. So it's very subjective. Yeah, we help teams to collaborate better. But I think when this paper is out and it's based on so much data, then we will be able to really say, okay, we had this game and we can prove around numbers how it changed the behaviors of the people or how they could better collaborate after. And this is something that was said in the launch of the State of Facilitation 2025. Vimar said, yes, the problem of facilitators is that they cannot really explain. They should explain less what they are doing and explain more what the impact of their work. And I really do think that this Evivve white paper will help us, to sell also our service better, right?
That's one of the biggest challenges. As somebody who's been a facilitator for years, one of my greatest challenges was showing value. Like, what is it? Not value, but showing outcome. You know, we delivered a workshop, and yes, it's about behavior, but how do we prove to business the real outcome or the real tangible benefits of something that we've delivered? And one of the things that we used to back into before the technology, before any of this other stuff came through, was with these copious reports that we would write. They would be based on applied behavioral sciences, understanding human processes, and our initial work that we were doing as a part of while we were running the program was we were taking notes. We were writing down, this person harvested this land, this person, submitted this, fulfilled this offer, this person, so and so. And we had a shorthand version. We created these templates. These were very shorthand, quick ways of just noting down what was actually taking place, because so much is happening at the same time. And now facilitators don't have to do that. But we used to have to do that because we wanted to give outcome. We wanted to give them something that they would be able to look at and say tangibly, this is what happened in this group, and that's how we're able to measure the shift or the change. But now we've taken all of that and we've put it into the technology such that it generates powerful reports that are based on the big five, based on, Tuckman's model, based on the Lencioni's model, and whatever model you want to use it for, because ultimately you're processing raw behavioral data to translate into meaningful frameworks that make sense to your client or to your context of how you want to deploy. And that brings the outcome, tangible outcome, with numerical instances of where things are, where they are, and all that.
Thank you so much. But we still have one thing to discuss, because I will head up to Singapore and to India in the next months, and for a good reason, because there will be 2 cohorts for the certification program of Evivve, level 1 and level 2. Do you have some dates, or tell us what happened there?
Yeah, I would love to. I'm so excited about this. It's going to be like a tour, Nati, because we're going to first be in Singapore, and then another program, level 1 and level 2 in India. And in between, there might be, based on popular demand, we've got so many requests coming in. It's crazy. I think, Evivve is getting the attention that I think it needs, and having amazing people like yourselves in the ecosystem just brings so much understanding and language to be able to communicate effectively to our facilitators. We're intending to equip, with level 1 of the certification, we're intending to equip facilitators with the ability to run an Evivve workshop, to run an Evivve experience across a range of competencies, and more importantly, equipping them to position Evivve, package Evivve into their own learning or own development solution or their own workshop, whatever it is that they deliver. We want to help them package it such that they're able to offer a complete offering that is integrated with Evivve as a solution. So the level 1 helps you to do that. But the real growth is in the level 2, which is your personal facilitation technique development and your internal processes work. Because when you do that, when you go through that work of working through your own inner processes, we're going to create these lab style ecosystems for level 2, where we're going to be doing a little bit of surgery, if you will, where we'll work with the inner processes and understand how an Evivve game can be debriefed, can be used to provide feedback and provide coaching services and feedback services that go beyond the Evive game experience, because you also want to be able to take those reports and create a new stream of revenue for yourself after the fact, because that's the real door opener. We see Evive not just as a one trick pony. We want Evive to be the tool that helps facilitators open doors to do 10 other things that they would do with the client, because it surfaces so much data that you can use the same game to process it in 10 different ways and drive many initiatives beyond.
So it will be end of May in Singapore. And if I remember well, middle end of July in Goa. I have never been in Goa, so this will be so nice, and we will co-facilitate the first one together. And the second one, I'll be there too. So if you're interested, there will be all the information in the show notes. And of course, with little surprise. So look at the show notes or send us a message to me or to Mohsin to get more information about this. It would be very great to see some of you there. Thank you so much, Mohsin.
Absolutely. And for all the Nazi fans out there, we're offering a very special 20% discount coupon that goes alongside of that. So, yeah.
Thank you for this. Thank you very much. So, and good luck with the white paper. And here also, if anyone is in learning and development, who are we looking for? Gamifications facilitators?
Yes and no. So I would say any facilitator that looks at experiential learning. So you don't have to have a background in game-based learning or in gamification for that matter, as long as you are somebody that uses experience to drive insight and to drive learning, you would appreciate Evive, and the certification is right up your alley. If you're a change agent as well, or a facilitator internally within an organization or externally when you're working as a freelancer or with a company, this would be a skill that gets added to your repertoire of toolkit, if you will.
Thank you very, very much, Mohsin, and see you in Singapore.
See you in Singapore. Looking forward to that.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi everyone, here is a great update since we recorded this episode. If you're curious to experience Evivve and actually play the game yourself, and you are a facilitator based in or near Bombay in India, I've got something exciting to share. As part of IAF Facilitation Week, we're hosting a free live Evivve game session on May 14. And you are invited. It's open to all facilitators and a great chance to feel the kind of shift this tool creates in the room in real time. You can drop me a message on LinkedIn, check out the Evivve LinkedIn page, or simply email me at podcast@laworkshoppers.com for all the information. And if you find yourself thinking, wow, I want to bring this into my own work and add it to my toolkit to really elevate my sessions, then you can join us for the Evivve certification in Singapore happening in the last week of May. You can use my 20% discount. Honestly, this certification was one of the best investments I've made in my praxis. It's taken my facilitation to another level and give my participant a truly special experience. So just keep these 2 dates in mind. May 14, free Evivve game for facilitators in Bombay at the IAF Facilitation Week, and the last week of May, Evivve certification program in Singapore. Hope to see you at one or both. And until then, I wish you good health, happiness, and lots of success. Bye bye.